Welcome back to the Pool Pro Podcast, episode number 17. On today's episode, co-hosts Michelle Kavanaugh and Dave Rockwell discuss the content and overall takeaways from the first 16 episodes. Plus, they talk about what's coming up. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to the Pool Pro Podcast. This is Dave Rockwell with my co-host and guest, Michelle Kavanaugh.
Yes, Michelle Kavanaugh. Hey, everybody.
We're mutual guests on the show today.
Yes.
Today, what we were going to do is conduct a little bit of a review of what we've learned so far on our podcast and a little overview of some of the people we've talked to and some of the things we've done. And maybe talk a little bit about our vision for the future and where we're going to go with this podcast.
Yeah. And I think, too, it's important for those of you who haven't been able to or had a chance to listen to all the episodes we've done thus far. We've done 16 as of right now, and we're continuing on. We'll talk about what we have coming up. But really want to do a quick summary of what we've done thus far and what our goals are for this podcast, because it's the whole purpose of this was to really help service guys. We feel like, maybe service guys are an underrepresented population as far as their voice and what really can help them succeed in the field. And so we wanted to make sure that with this podcast, we're helping you with business tools and technical topics to be able to, do your job better or do it more effectively. Or if you have questions, you know who to go to get answers, things like that. So we're just going to talk about, again, a summary. So that if you want to go back and listen to a particular episode that you haven't heard yet, that would be a way for you to do it on YouTube. You can go to YouTube and we'll talk about that at the end. And then we'll just talk about what's coming up.
Well, Michelle, one thing, let's talk a little bit about you. You've been a bit of a nomad this summer. You've been doing this podcast from various locations.
Yes.
So where are you right now?
I'm in South Dakota, Vermilion, South Dakota, believe it or not. I've been through Utah and Colorado and now in South Dakota. I was actually here visiting my father on the way to Canada, but as we all know, the Canadian border is no longer accepting Americans, so I can't get up there. So I'm kind of in a limbo stage right now in South Dakota, but it's the good news about South Dakota is there's no people, so the likelihood of contracting COVID goes down significantly.
And, there's pretty much no lockdowns or anything.
No, the governor said, do what you want, but most people are following, guidelines that people have put out there. But, I'm in a town of 10,000 people, so it's not like there's a lot of activity happening here,
Yeah, and that we've started a lot of our podcasts with people who are in the know on the topic of diseases and pathogens, yeah. And we've had some discussions about this disease, but it continues to evolve. It continues to, the situation does. There's so many changes. They lock us down. They let us out. People start getting sick from it, and they're a lot of the southwestern states they're clamping down again.
Yeah.
So it's really kind of hard to know really what's what. They report there's so many new cases, but when you look behind that curtain, it seems like the actual deaths and the actual serious cases are going down. So
right.
I think that's one thing we can kind of point to as a positive, and maybe we can start to move out of this thing fairly soon, although I think it's going to be with us for a long time.
I have a feeling that you're correct in that. It's a tough situation to even know what to do, because you get so many different opinions. If you look at stuff going on online, everybody's like, stop being a wuss, quit wearing your mask, you're overreacting. Other people like, oh, you better do this, or it's like there's no way to completely understand what to do at this point. I feel like you probably know yourself and your family better than anybody else. You do what you think is right. And let's not all judge each other based on what we are not doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I posted something on social media early on.
I saw that.
About, how many people actually know somebody who contracted the virus and the numbers were really low.
Yeah.
If I were to post that same question today, I think almost every one of us knows multiple people who have gotten it. I do unfortunately know one person in Michigan who died, but he was immediately put on a ventilator, and that seems to be a death sentence.
Yes, agreed. I have a friend, a colleague who I didn't even know she had it. She's in California, actually. She's a colleague
Yeah.
of from my business group, and she was in the hospital for 70 days, and she's
Oh my
now
goodness.
still suffering. She's losing her hair now. She's been home for almost a month, but she said it's going to take at least 6 months to recover, is what they're telling her. And she lost her hair, and she's having all kinds of issues. So, you just never know how it's going to impact you. And unfortunately, if it doesn't kill you, which I think the majority of the cases that's not happening, but I think that there's long-term effects that we're not even aware of at this time, of how it impacts you many months after you test negative.
And that remains to be seen. The good
Yeah.
news that I will say is so many people that I know that have gotten it, the symptoms were actually very mild.
Yeah.
Very short period of time, they had a fever. A couple of them lost their sense of smell and taste for a couple of days, and they got right out of it. So generally, if you're a healthy person and you take good care of your immune system and supplement vitamin C, D, and A, which I do every flu season anyway.
Me too. Yep.
And I think maybe one of the things that's probably not addressed and encouraged and enforced enough is just take care of yourself, take care of your health, eat right, supplement
Yes.
your immune system. And
I think Roy Vore, so there's exciting things coming out too. I don't know if you're aware of it, Dave, but there's some testing stuff coming out that I'm very much aware of in regards to testing surfaces for E. coli, Legionella, and now COVID is coming out later in the year that I'm part of it. I'm working with them to try to bring that to the attention of everyone as soon as it's available, which we'll put them on the podcast to talk about it. We just can't fully discuss it yet. That's exciting because we all know that the water testing is probably not the issue. If you are getting it at a pool, it's due to, surface infection, or maybe somebody coughing in your face or something like that. But I think it's so sad that a lot of the pools, like we have one pool in this town that's where everybody goes in the summer, and they didn't even open it this summer. So it's just sitting there. They're not gonna, and they're in here, you only have 3 months out of the year to swim because that's the season. So it's kind of sad. I think it's kind of sad, but I get it. I understand that there are some public pools who just feel like they can't monitor out of the water and they don't have enough staff to disinfect and make sure people are following, social distancing rules. But I think just keeping pools closed is rough because that's a thing that it contributes to healthy kids and and all those things that we're kind of missing out on, which I find sad. So if there's a way for us to start having regular tests, and you get the results back quick, Dave. So this product that's coming out, the results come back in 20 minutes. So it's quick and it's an easy thing, and it's coming out later in the year. I'm going to be a part of it, and we'll talk about it. But it's exciting.
These tests for people, or are they tests for in the water?
Well, both. It's not for people, but it's for surfaces and water, not people specifically, but surfaces, and there's swabs for surfaces, and then water testing stuff too. So it's a couple different things, but it's exciting that it's coming out. So
well, and that brings us back to a couple of podcasts that we had, both Roy Vore, and Chip Blatchley from Purdue. As I spoke with them during the course of those podcasts, one of the things that kind of stood out to me is that our water testing as pool professionals is very, very limited. We test for chlorine in the water. A lot of times we don't have ORP. We don't even know what that chlorine in the water is doing. Richard Falk talks about the relationship between cyanuric acid and chlorine. Some people disagree with that theory, but that's really the only way that we have to test the health and safety of the water. And I've looked into some bacteria tests that are available right now. They're like 20 or 30 bucks a pop. You're certainly not going to do that every week. You're not going to do that unless you have suspect a reason for having to do it. And the other thing is they're pretty non-specific. They just tell you, okay, there is living, bacteria in the water. There's something in there, but they're not going to break it down and tell you whether it's E. coli or this or that.
Right. Exactly.
So that would be incredibly exciting news to me if affordable and accurate tests would start to become available to pool professionals to really be able to have a lot more confidence and know exactly
Yes.
what's going on in your pool water.
And I think with the filtration series too, Dave, it's exactly the same thing. Because with the filtration series, by the way, we're in the middle of the filtration series.
Yeah,
We've done
we've got
3
some
so
more
far. But
exciting
again, the
things to
water
come.
clarity is what you don't really know what's in the water, and that you assume that the filters are filtering everything out. But as we learned with the 3 episodes we've done thus far, just your water being clear is not determining that you don't have things in the water.
Yeah, that's true. And if you catch things, even if you have a filter that's effective and it's catching things, if you're catching live organisms, you still have to kill them, even if they're in the filter. So, um, yeah, the filtration is so much more complicated of an issue than we've been thinking about lately, and I'm really excited. We've got some more good things to come as part of that series, and I think I'm really excited to get this industry kind of looking at the filtration side of things, because I mean everybody says filtration is the key to healthy water, but what we actually do, what we actually know about our filters and our ability to measure what they're allowing to pass through, we're up against some severe limitations, and we need to. That's definitely an area that needs a lot more attention in our industry, I feel, that came to me as we were talking to James Ambergey, Derek French. Derek French is awesome. Everybody should
absolutely
listen to that podcast. He's brilliant.
He's very knowledgeable.
Filtration.
Yeah.
And
Ambergey too. You know, Ambergey kind of calls it like it is, and if you guys haven't listened to that one, you really should, because he does not hold back, and I appreciate that about him, because I'd rather him tell the truth and not just give us lip service. I want to know what he's really thinking, and he's done so much research.
He doesn't leave any doubt as to what he's really thinking.
I know, exactly. I love that about him.
Yeah, he's a fun guy to talk to for sure.
Then Roy Bohr, like you said, Roy Bohr talked a lot about COVID stuff. I mean, we pretty much all, I think, have learned at this point that you can't really pass it in the water if the water is properly balanced and treated. Now that's the key here, if it is. So.
And going back to some of the things that they, both Richard Falk had quite a bit of information on COVID in his podcast with us, and Roy.
We didn't post his, Dave. We haven't posted his because we had tech issues. You couldn't. The sound was all messed up. So we're gonna re-record that one. We'll get that one out this summer.
But the one there was one that didn't we release one of them? The second part of it. I thought I heard the one on COVID. I'm sorry if I don't even know.
No, I did a webinar with CPSA with Richard. Okay. You may have heard that, Dave, but we recorded a podcast with him, but unfortunately the sound was just really bad quality.
Well, let me paraphrase then what Richard said and that Roy reiterated about the COVID virus that they knew at that time, is that they did feel like it was extremely virulent, that it was easy to catch, it was easy to pass along. But what they also found was that it's pretty easy to kill.
Yeah.
Just soap and water, washing your hands with soap and water kills it.
Yep.
And so there's so many debates about whether you should wear a mask, whether you shouldn't. Obviously, at least cover your mouth if you cough or sneeze, or and washing your hands, because I see people, as far as the whole mask debate, a lot of people wear them, but they don't wear them right. They use a cloth mask. They keep it in their car. They breathe and cough and sneeze into it every day. They never wash it. It's kind of part of a costume that they wear. They breathe and sneeze into it and then put their hand on it to adjust it so it's on their hands. So there's even if you believe they're effective, there's still things you have to know and things that you have to do to use them properly. And,
agreed. And I don't think a mask necessarily prevents it, but it probably slows it down a little bit, just because you have something over your face if you do cough or sneeze. But we all know that some of those particles are still getting through those cloth masks. But the key is, it's probably slowing it down a little bit, if anything.
Right. And though those of us that have followed this thing from the beginning, I have pretty extensively. Um, I still don't have a definitive, I don't know what to believe. We're told so many different things.
Yep.
Even the statistics of things of this thing and how they've counted it, that if you have COVID when you die, then it's reported as a COVID death. Um, so that they may have a reason and sound logic behind why they do that, but if you end up with bad statistics, you end up with bad science, and
Yep.
so I think I would really hope that the people that are in charge of this thing and know a lot more than I do, I would really hope that they're honestly searching for the truth, that they're
Me
not
too.
agenda.
Yes.
And so and I guess we don't know at this point, so that's probably about all we can say about it.
Yes. Just check your facts, and I say get your news from multiple sources. Don't go to one source, because check your facts and make sure if you're posting something that it's legit and that you've heard it from multiple sources.
Yeah.
And you fact checked it. That, to me, that's the only way you can really be somewhat sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So
We
who
also
else did we
talked
talk
about
to?
so business tools. What we talked about, Dave. We're also talking about, besides the technical side, we
Yes.
want to make sure we focus on some business tools as well, which is part of helping you run your business. And so far, we've talked about kind of managing your finances better, how to hire, and really the contractor's contractor. When he talked about how to hire, he really talked about being a good employer.
Yes.
Because if you're a good employer and how you treat your customers as well as your staff, that makes a difference in who you hire and how you hire, and also the quality of the people that are coming to you, because you can be selective at that point if you've got a lot of people that want to work for you. I think that's important. We also talked about dealing with angry customers. So that was something we talked about in regards, and guess what the key to that one is, Dave? Don't piss them off in the first place. That's how you deal with it.
Well, if it were as easy to do as it is to say that sentence, we'd all be a lot farther ahead of the game. But it's
well, his point, I think the key, my takeaway from that one, Dave, was communication. And that happens in many industries, not just in the pool service industry, but most customers get frustrated with you due to a lack of proper communication. And if you're communicating effectively, you have a lot less angry customers.
That's true, and that's, I think, more and more important now. Although it's more challenging now, people are home, but some of them are afraid to come out and talk to you. But they're watching what you're doing. They're watching how much time you're spending on the pool. People are scared and frustrated and bored, and I see it in among the people that I work closely with in the service industry, that they're very quick to take it out on the service guy. They're watching what we're doing, and, well, I'm paying you all this money and you're only spending 20 minutes at my pool, and what are you doing? So that's where communication now is more important than ever. Even if you don't knock on the door and talk to them personally, he talked about various ways that you can communicate with your customer what you've done there and what you see.
Yeah.
And, the biggest thing that I see with the type of clientele that I work for is the most embarrassing thing is if they find something wrong with the pool and report it to you. You should be the one looking for things. I think that's one of the things we talked about with Lauren Broom on pool inspections as well, is that you look at the pool with fresh eyes every time you go back there. Don't just get into a routine. Don't just get inside your head. Take the earbuds out, turn off Metallica for a few minutes, and take a good look around and be present in the moment and look for things. Not only, if you don't do that, not only are you possibly leaving the pool and leaving a bad problem that could cause you problems later, or make the customer sick or hurt them, but you're leaving money on the table. There's repairs that need to be done. Tell the customer about it, get the discussion started, and get them done. You not only will you show them that you're valuable to them, but you'll also make some money doing that extra work.
Absolutely. And I think too, for the financial side, if you're out there and you don't really have a handle on your financial side, there are resources available to you. And Janine Bolin is the one that we spoke to on, I
Right.
think it was early on.
Yes.
But I have a gentleman who I work with, personally, but many of my colleagues have been working with him. And there's probably, if you're not really managing the finances, there's probably a lot of things you're missing, like things
Yep.
that you could be deducting that you're not even aware of. I
Yep.
mean, it's obvious that trucks and gas and things can be expenses that you have associated with your business, but there are probably other things you're not even aware of that you should be deducting.
Yes.
And he's not expensive per month, to handle all your finances. He has a quick app that you can get signed up with, and it connects to your bank account. He doesn't have access to your bank account. He can just see the transactions load over, so he can manage it without you having to do anything. It's so simple. He can do your taxes if you need that. That's a separate thing. But if you guys need help with your accounting and your finances to get that off your plate, and you know that it's being managed correctly, then contact us. Comment on these episodes, or contact me directly via Messenger. Whatever you need to do, contact me, and I'll connect you with that gentleman to help you out.
Right. Right. And the other thing that Janine brought out that was, I think, a huge thing, the most important thing, is stay out of debt.
Yes.
Just don't.
And that's hard to do.
Don't keep getting another credit card. Don't keep burying yourself in more and more debt. And I think in this industry, when that starts to happen, it happens because you're not making enough on each job or each customer or each monthly service account, and
Yep.
you're actually negatively going into the hole little by little. If you're not making enough to cover your household expenses and feed your family, then you're not charging enough. And the solution is not to just keep adding on more and more unprofitable accounts and increasing your gross profit, because you're also, if you're running at a negative, you're increasing the amount that you're running at a negative. If you don't, you got to get out of that cycle. This industry has got to raise its level of
Yep.
esteem that it has for itself. We have to value our own time and our own expertise. And it's not about getting every customer, every homeowner around the block. It's about building a profitable business with people that you can, that value you and are willing to pay you accordingly. And
Yeah, it's not about just the cheapest.
It's not about it's not about how much work you can do. It's about how efficiently and how profitably you can operate.
And the other thing too is, and I'd like to do a financial series in the future, Dave, where we talk about different parts of financing, but building business credit for your business is enormously important as well. I have a colleague that we can interview on that. And he talks about building business credit separate from your personal credit, because then, you can get business credit built, and then you can be approved for financing if you want to scale. If you need to buy another truck and maybe hire another person, or whatever it is. If you have the business credit built up for you, and then when you're ready to scale, you can. You don't have to use it if you don't need it, but if you do need it, it's there for you, and that's also important. If you're looking to kind of grow a little bit in the future, especially if transitioning from service to maybe doing some renovations or building or something like that. There's going to be money that you're going to have to invest to be able to build that business, and if you don't have the resources and the business credit built, then it's going to be much harder.
Yeah. And I think that's another topic that I would love to pursue with the podcast. And we have a number of friends over on the Ask the Master side who have made that transition from service to building. And that's a great discussion to have, and both how to do it right, and also should you do it? Is that really just a natural step that all of us should be taking, or is it something that we should really step back and look at? Where does our passion really lie? So that's definitely a topic we're going to look forward
to touch on. I think that's a great idea. And then we did a whole series on drowning prevention, which we did in early, May, maybe late April, early May. And
Yes.
that I think is a responsibility, and I know you believe this, Dave, but it's a responsibility on the part of the service guys to, be a advocate for, homeowners in their backyard. And there's many tools out there for you to be able to communicate drowning prevention to your customers. And that could be a free tool like the test that they have at Collins Hope, or there's different like flyers and things or door hangers that you can buy directly from them. And we talked a lot about that. And I think, Dave, you've got some potential, I forget what you have, if they're postcards or flyers or what, that you got from Collins Hope.
They're from, is it Collins?
Yeah, Collins Hope, yep.
Collins Hope. And I actually have, they're a really nice, sharp looking card that has a lot of just really good information and pointers on drowning prevention. Yep. And then it has a detachable card with a wristband that is a water guardian.
Yep.
And he just assigned somebody at the pool to put that on, and their job is to watch the kids in the water.
Yeah.
And I'll put that out there right now. I have tons of them. I would happily get them to anybody who can use them. I think they're a great tool. I've given them out to a number of poolmen. And they're from last year. They're free. They're just we just need to get them in people's hands so that they don't go to waste.
Yep.
Because it's
absolutely
great.
We'll be promoting that. We'll put some information out about that so that you can potentially send us something. But I think it's important I think that just helps you be a better service guy if you're showing that you really care about
I'm really
that.
shocked that we got some pushback and some resistance from some poolmen that think, oh no, we don't want to even mention that to our customers. We don't want to bring that subject up. And
so are they worried from a liability perspective?
I don't know. I think whatever it is, it's wrong. It's an attitude that needs to change. I think anybody that feels that way really needs to listen to our podcast and rethink. Drowning is a problem that this industry is always going to have to battle, and we need to be a part of trying to solve it, not trying to sweep it under the rug and not trying to pretend it doesn't.
It was from a liability perspective. If they're worried that if they give them recommendations and then somebody does drown, they think they're going to go back to the service guy and trying to hold them accountable. The information you're providing is not your information. It's another organization, first of all. Yes. It's not your information. You're just providing it to them. And so I feel like it's better to show that you actually gave them some information versus avoiding it. And then if someone drowns, they can think, well, you didn't properly inform us. So I think it's kind of a double-edged sword on that one, but I feel like giving them more information is better than giving them no information.
Yeah. And I developed a really an appreciation for the people that are involved in this and advocating, because either they've personally experienced this pain themselves, or they're involved through their involvement in it. They see firsthand people's pain and what this.
Yes, unfortunately, it's usually a child that drowned, and either the parents started something. The parents started a foundation, or well, usually it's always the parents. But and then so you've got a team of people that have big hearts who really want to help and care about that type of thing. So it's a great group of people. It's a community that you want to be a part of, and there's lots of service guys who are leading this charge. Jeremy Smith, who's one of the guys that we interviewed, he's in Texas, and he's being a leader in his community. He's also on the National Drowning Prevention Alliance board. You've got Steve Little here in the Palm Desert area, who's also leading it. He's also got a water school. I mean, these are leaders, and that helps you build influence in your community as well, if you're stepping out as a leader in this particular cause.
So it was it's a topic that I've been involved with off and on throughout my career, and I was really glad through this series to reconnect with it a little bit again.
Yes. And then our last the one we just launched last week was in regards to pool inspections, and Lauren Broom from Florida, who I've known for quite some time. She has experience with inspections, and so she talked about what to look for, and she also talked a lot about RWIs because she has some experience there as well. So that's a great one to listen to kind of reinforce, especially if you're doing semi-public pools like apartment complexes or HOAs or anything like that. But it's also important for backyards, just to kind of, she talked about what you should be looking for, especially if you're new and you're not as certain what you should be looking for. It's probably a good podcast for you to listen to.
Yeah, very much. If you're new, you have the problem of you don't know what you don't know. You
Right.
can be walking by something and not have any clue how dangerous it is. So it's really important that we continue our education. We don't just you know, buy a small route and start cleaning pools. And it's highly important that you continue to educate yourself, that you learn more and more about how things work, about how they should work.
Yeah.
Learn to identify dangers and problems, and little by little you'll pick up on the building codes and the things that are extremely important in terms of the safety of keeping your clients safe.
Yep.
So, but it's all about continuing to learn. And what's really nice about, I guess, I won't say it's really nice because there's nothing about this time we're going through that I would say, oh, that's nice. But one of the things is that there's so many people turning to online. There's so much available online.
Yeah.
CPO classes now there are some extremely qualified and high quality instructors, and you can get your education for this right online. You don't have to spend 2 days in class.
Yes.
So it's that's I guess one saving grace of the times we're going through.
Absolutely. And let's talk about what's coming up, Dave.
Well, I like the idea that you presented. I'm sure, from the business side of things, you're going to continue to give us some good ideas.
Yeah, so financials, I like to do a financial series on different aspects of finances. It could be tax related, or it could be building credit, or it could be just accounting services overall and what to be looking out for. So we'll do a financial series for you guys to talk about different aspects of finances.
What, as you know, my biggest passion is ozone and getting people off of their addiction to just pure chlorine. So we're going to be putting a series together on alternative and supplemental sanitization, and I want to tie that together with our filtration series and get into extreme water quality. What are some things? What are some elements we can add to a pool to just really take the water quality over the top? And there's a lot of great new technologies that are being employed, and so we're gonna do a little bit of a deeper dive into that.
That would be great. So we have one of the filtration topics we have coming up, just so everybody's aware, is we're going to do a panel discussion between service and builders. What we did learn when we were talking to a few folks during our filtration series is that, the builders are determining, what filters are going into the system, and sometimes that is a point of contention with service guys, especially as it relates to if they want to change them out and need a bigger, I want to say platform. That's not the right word. What am I trying to say, Dave?
Well, a more efficient filter.
Yeah. But if they need more room for a different filter system or something like that, and they want to have different ones spec'd in, sometimes it's a problem.
There's a lot of factors that go into what filters are installed on a pool and why. And what we've kind of gathered so far from the people we've talked to is what's driving it is not always the most efficient and effective filtration for that pool. It's about, what fits on the pad and what kind of what other factors are involved. And so I'm very excited to get together with some of the builders and talk about some of those factors, what drives their choices. And then the service industry, you know, a lot of us are habit driven. We use what we've always used and what we get used to and what we find effective. And I just, the whole filtration thing, my goal with trying to help put this thing together, was to just get people thinking more about it.
Yeah.
Everybody says that it's an important aspect, the most important aspect to healthy pool water, and yet there's 20 classes at the Western Pool and Spa Show scheduled for water chemistry, 0 on filtration.
Yeah.
And so that has been a little bit neglected. It has to be something that people are willing to learn more about, open their minds up to, and think about.
Yep, absolutely. So we're excited about that. Again, the whole goal of this was to really bring the business tools and the tech tools. I guess tech tools would be the proper term for service guys, and hoping that you're enjoying what we've put out there so far. You can access it on YouTube, but you can subscribe to the YouTube channel Pool Pro Podcast, or you can listen to it on iTunes or Spotify, anything like that as well. While you're driving around in your truck, you can actually be listening to it. So keep that in mind. You can turn, like Dave said, you can turn the Metallica down for maybe listen to an episode here and there, you know. But we're always willing to listen too. If you have any comments in regards to things that you'd like to see or hear about, we're always open to ideas. So feel free to comment on any of these podcasts or send us a personal message. We're happy to hear your ideas and consider, you know, doing at least 1 or 2 or whatever it may be on whatever topic you're interested in. So please feel free to do that. And we're excited about it. We're going to keep going, and hopefully I'll be in Canada at some point, Dave, but we'll see what happens. You know, you just never know.
Yeah, that's
Perry, I have friends up in Canada, but they were saying, well, maybe just go to the border and declare political asylum. I said, I don't think that's going to work. So no, I'm stuck here right now.
We need you here.
I know, right? I just thought that was so funny. But yeah, so we're excited about it. We're going to keep going for you guys. And any final thoughts, Dave?
Yeah, one more thing. Your little call to action. We'd love to hear from listeners if you have something that you'd like to hear discussed, or someone that you'd like to hear from on the podcast. Our Facebook groups are a good way to communicate. We've got Pool Pro group, and we've got the Pool Pro podcast.
Yep, that's correct.
Facebook group. We post our notices about our upcoming episodes there, but you're also welcome to comment and interact with us. We'd love to hear from you. And we're doing this hopefully for the benefit of people out there in the field. We're not just doing it for our own benefit. So we'd be glad to hear from you and love to hear your thoughts.
Perfect. Well, thanks so much, Dave. Stay safe in California.
It's always a pleasure, Michelle.
Absolutely.
Take care.
You too.
A new voice in the industry, a resource for all, education for you. This is Pool Pro Podcast. Build relationships and share important news as we get ready for our next backyard adventure. Pool Pro Podcast. Backyard adventures are better together. Please take a moment to share, like, and review our content with all of those that would be interested.